Hey, welcome back to the Year of the Wager Redux because we are having to do it all over again. If you've been following the channel, you know that 2023 did not work out that well. The WSOP kicked my behind and I needed to regroup, focus on my business and what have you. But I did discover that I had a lot of fun making these vlogs, so decided to give it another shot in 2024 with the WSOP and see if I could make up for last year's poor performance and redeem myself. And so that's what this episode is going to be about. Same goal as last year. We're going to start with a bankroll of $10,000 and see what we can turn it into. Gambling as often as possible, hopefully every day, but at least during the moments that count throughout the year. Football, fantasy football, poker, etc. So WSOP is the kickoff point. That's what this episode is going to be about. We will see how I did. Jumped out in this fresh gear. Next year is my best year. So just landed in Las Vegas. Feeling hype already. Got a tournament starting tomorrow. Got to get to the hotel, check in, and start mentally preparing. I love it every time I'm in Las Vegas. I can feel the electricity in the air. It gets me excited. And when I'm in Las Vegas, I always like to stay in luxury accommodations and do it right. And doing it right means staying either at the Wynn or the Encore so that you can feel good, and your feel good can lead to some run good. Got to keep the health levels in optimal condition so I can run deep during this poker tournament. So we're gonna walk to the bank so I can pull out my cash and be ready for these tournaments while getting a couple miles worth of exercise on. It's already, I'm sure, at least 90 degrees at 10 o'clock in the morning here in Las Vegas, so we'll see if I can survive. Playing Deuce to 7 triple draw tournament at the Wynn for $600. And first notable hand is on level 1 at the $300, $600 level. I'm dealt 6, 3, 6, 7, 10 and decide to only keep the 3 and the 7. I know you should never play Deuce to 7 without a deuce. I'm not exactly sure why I played this hand this way, but I get lucky, and on my first draw, I make 2, 3, 4, 7 queen, and miraculously, on my second draw, I make the wheel 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. The only bad part of making the wheel is when you make it this early in a tournament, and hopefully you don't go through all of your run good. Second notable hand was at the $400, $800 level, where I was dealt 7, 5 deuce, jack 10. On my first draw, I made 7, 6, 5, 3, 2, drawing 2. And decided to check raise my opponent after the first draw, which was probably a mistake, but I think I'm solid with the number 3 hand and Deuce to 7, but he breaks his hand, which he was contemplating for quite a while before drawing, and he makes 7, 6, 4, 3, 2. So he ends up winning the hand with the second best hand and Deuce to 7, out-notching me by 1 and making me regret my check raise. So in the Deuce to 7 tournament at the Wynn, and not doing as good as I want to be doing. Ran into a lot of number 3 versus number 2s and number 4 versus number 3, so got to turn it around. I got about half my stack right now, so need to turn it around, make something happen. All right, let's go. Hand number 3, I end up being very low stacked, and so I ended up getting it all in at the 1,000, 2,000 level, and ended up making an 8, 6, 5, 3 deuce for the double up, which allowed me to go on a monster run, and I ended up winning 8 out of the next 10 hands, which put me in contention for the tournament. The last notable hand was on the 3,000, 6,000 level where I was dealt 2, 3, 4, 10 king. And on my first draw, I made 2, 3, 4, 7 jack. On my second draw, I made 2, 3, 4, 7, 7. And on my last draw with both myself and my opponent drawing 1, I made 2, 3, 4, 7 queen. I was bet into by my opponent, but I figured it was a good opportunity for him to be leading out with a bluff bet. And while a queen is not normally a hand that I would call with, I decided to make the call. And I'm glad I did because I caught him snowing with a pair of 6s. So that put me in a good position as well.
What is going on? You know what time it is. It's time for that morning walk and recap of yesterday's activities. Did not cash is the summary. It was good to shake the rust off though. I think I got my mind right, but in those one-day tournaments, the blinds go up so quickly that you really have to make a move sometimes before you prefer to. Much different than the WSOP where you can pick your spots a lot better. There was 138 people in the tournament. They were paying 17 places and I got knocked out 34th. And so today is a repeat at the Orleans, another $600 Deuce to 7 tournament. So we'll just see if I can improve on yesterday's performance. So that's another one-day tournament this afternoon. The dealer's choice is tomorrow at the WSOP. Not quite sure if I want to play that yet or not, but we'll see. I did try out last night Emmett's Steakhouse at the Fashion Show Mall, new restaurant. I do want to check out some of the Fontainebleau restaurants. I've heard good things about them. And amazingly, it's not that busy in there. Hopefully it succeeds though, because I would like to see this end of the strip do better.
We're going to pick up the action at the Orleans actually on my second bullet because the first bullet deserves explanation all by itself. On the second bullet, there were only 2 notable hands worth talking about. On the first one, I was dealt 2, 4, 7 Jack Jack. And on my first draw, I made King 7, 6, 4, 2. And on my second draw, I made 7, 6, 5, 4, 2. So I decided to raise and obviously stay pat. But it wasn't good enough to have a 7 because my opponent made the wheel, and that's not how you want to start off your second bullet. On the second notable hand, I was dealt Deuce 7 brick, 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 and I was on the button, so I decided to play. On my first draw, though, I made the miracle 7, 6, 5, 3 Deuce, which is pretty good for just one draw. I bet the entire way, and my opponent decided to stay with me the entire way and actually ended up all in before going bust to my great hand. It wasn't good enough, though, because I was not able to keep the momentum up myself and ended up being knocked out in 17th place.
Hey, so it is super early in the morning out here in Las Vegas. It's 6 a.m. I've been up for almost an hour. Wanted to grab a couple of minutes to reflect while things are still fresh in my mind. The results from poker. First thing is I did change casinos, so I am now at Resorts World. Was at the Encore / Wynn yesterday. At Resorts World now. The mixed games I like to play are at Resorts World. So just came across the street, take advantage of some of my reward points and things of that nature. So and just get a change of vibe and a change of venue. So yesterday was playing the Deuce to 7 triple draw tournament at the Orleans, and I late reg, which I almost never do. It might be a good strategy to deploy later on, but I late regged about an hour and a half late, so not that big a deal, just 3 levels in. And to my surprise, it was a $30,000 guarantee with a only like 28 people were registered. Actually, it was 23 people were registered when I sat down. So it's a huge overlay, right? Almost double. So I sit down and I'm playing, and I'll go over these hands in more detail, but basically I get knocked out on the first bullet because I just kept getting run down, right? Like I had 8 perfect and someone hit the wheel. You know, it just kept happening over and over again. One hand in particular sticks out in my mind because it was a hell of a poker play by me that really, I was proud that I made it. I couldn't believe how it unfolded. But basically, on the river in Deuce to 7, I got bet into by someone who stayed pat after their first draw. I hadn't seen that many of the hands that she had shown down with. I had a pair of 4s in my hand, and I got bet into, and I knew it was a risky play because the math probably says call no matter what. But I decided to raise her after I had took a card on the last draw. And the reason why I decided to raise her with a pair of 4s was because I had seen 3 4s in my hand, I had seen 2 2s in my hand, and I had seen 2 7s in my hand. So in my mind, she can't have that great of a hand, and she stayed pat after the first draw. And so if I'm raising on the third draw, having all those low cards in my hand, I gotta be at least decent, right? And she decides to call after much deliberation. I thought the bluff was gonna work, and she called me with a 10-9-8, a 10-9-8, which is a god-awful hand in Deuce to 7. The other thing that made it crazy that she called was that there was a player behind me. So I'm raising with a player behind me who was also drawing 1. So I'm acting like I have an awesome hand, like I drew to the wheel and I hit it. Player behind me folds, and she calls with a 10-9-8. Awesome poker play by me. I think a better poker player probably would have folded on their part, but she made the call and she won. So, obviously she made the right call and saw through my bluff, but that really wasn't good. So anyway, lost the first bullet, but the overlay was so good that I had to buy back in for another 600. So I normally never buy back into tournaments, but I did yesterday because there was still an overlay. I think it ended up being 43 people total in the tournament, and I think break even would have been 57. So if you don't know what an overlay is, it means a guarantee has been made by the casino that X number of dollars will be in the prize pool, in this case, $30,000. And they're going to pay that regardless of how many people sign up for the tournament. So only 43 people ended up signing up for the tournament, and break even would have been 57. So there was more money in the prize pool than people had paid in, which normally doesn't happen that often. And so anyway, the second round, I was doing pretty good on the second bullet. I was sitting, unfortunately though, I had a table draw where I was sitting with a multiple bracelet winner at my table in mixed games. And he was sitting to my left, which also wasn't good. He just kept getting it in good. I got sucked out on a couple times. I'll go over the hands in more detail, but basically ended up getting knocked out 17th when they were playing 6 places. So not that good of a showing. 2 disappointing days in a row with 3 tournaments in Deuce to 7. So just got here, but not how you really want to start off your Year of the Wager in Vegas. I did come back to Resorts World and my head was banging with a headache and I just didn't feel that good. But I decided to sit down and play the 8-16 mix. I really want to play the 20-40 would be my ideal mix. But that game isn't at Resorts World. Normally it only runs at the World Series of Poker cash games. And I would love to have sat down in the 80-160 mix, win all my tournament buy-ins back in a couple of hands, but I just don't have the cash on me without going to the bank in order to make that happen. So that's just my early morning reflections before the day gets too busy. So yeah, I'll keep you all informed.
So, not much different from last year. I clearly did not do what I needed to do in order to perform well, at least in this episode. So, how did we fare? We had 3 tournaments that we played, or actually 2 tournaments, but 3 bullets. So we had the deuce to 7 at the Wynn, and then we had the deuce to 7 at the Orleans, which I fired 2 bullets. So that was a loss of $1,800 before winning $125 back at the cash tables at Resorts World. So not off to the start that we wanted, but it's early. It's still vlog 1 of the Redux. And so that gives us a new balance of $8,325. And hopefully we're going to turn it around real quick. You got to be willing to deal with the variance, especially if you're playing tournaments. And what I do know is I need to play some more cash games. So hopefully we'll be able to get into that in future episodes. I hope you enjoyed this video. Do me a favor, go ahead, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the alert button, and hopefully I'll be able to hit the jackpot next time I play and bring you some new content. All right, thank you.